ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute.
Since the beginning of the 20th century, American cinema has flourished as one of the country's most influential art forms. It takes the world by storm, produces billions in revenue, and most importantly, shares ideas and stories with the world.
I mean, what would happen if I ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight?
They are our fellow South Africans, our partners in a democracy.
However, the creation of films you see today would not always have been possible. Major studios once ruled monopolies, taking the spotlight and the throne, controlling the game, manipulating every level of production, and crushing independent creators beneath their feet. Something needed to be done to change the story and break the barrier between director and audience. In the same way that the tornado carried Dorothy to the magical land of Oz, the Sundance Film Festival helped carry independent directors to audiences. Since 1912, getting a film out into public became more and more challenging as studios like Paramount Pictures rose like titans through vertical integration. When times got difficult, cinema still continued to thrive and offered a good means of escape to the general public.
At times when the villain held the stage, one could scarcely hear with the din. And as far as cheering and the hissing, they seldom ceased for a moment. When the villain said something that did not meet with the approval of the audience, they were up in arms, hissing, howling, and calling for the villain's death.
After the collapse of Wall Street because of the Depression, theater admissions hit an all-time high. Despite the economic struggles of the time, it was the golden age of Hollywood.
Well, during the golden age of Hollywood, the movies were the primary entertainment form in the United States, and the American film industry developed in such a way to feed a steady stream of entertainment to the American public on a regular basis.
Behind it, 5 studios reigned as kings: 20th Century Fox, RKO Pictures, Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, bringing genre films to distract people from their everyday struggles. Hollywood couldn't seem brighter in times of economic unrest and war.
Decorated for courage, and now a similar contingent is...
However, the major 5 studios were a double-bladed sword. The studios were first limited by the Hays Code, censoring what studios could and could not do because of cultural barriers. According to the Hays Code, portrayals of profanity, slavery, interracial relationships, and the ridicule of Catholics were among the many things that were restricted. Topics that were considered too edgy or from minority groups were trapped behind a barrier. In addition, many of these 5 major studios were vertically integrated, establishing monopolies and making it very difficult for filmmakers outside of these studios to share their ideas with the world. The studios controlled everything from the marketing, contracting stars, contracting select directors, owning all the equipment, money, and theaters the movies were released in, called tied theaters.
So, in order to get further financing and in order to secure Clark Gable to play the lead role of Red Butler in Gone with the Wind, David O. Selznick went to MGM to make Gone with the Wind. But in return, MGM demanded the distribution rights to Gone with the Wind. As a result of this, David O. Selznick had no choice but to capitulate.
Soon the industry began to become more like a factory, an instrument to maximize profit rather than to share art, ideas, and creativity. Something needed to change to prevent turning art into a machine. Something needed to be done to let other creators fly.
The unfair practices of the Big Five were not left unnoticed by others in the industry, who, after 3 decades of struggling with barriers of the studio system, collectively decided to form the Society of Independent Motion Picture Producers in 1942. SIMPP worked to end anti-competitive conduct in the industry.
Due to their efforts, the antitrust case, United States versus Paramount Pictures in 1948 decided that the reign and monopoly of the 5 major studios was to be brought down. While the studio system was officially collapsed, there was still much to be done. While the major studios no longer had monopolies, they were still much better off than any other studio, let alone an independent creator.
The studio system had most of the money and most of the cards, and for 20 years, not much successful work was done to change that.
It was then that the idea of the Sundance Film Festival was born. Sterling Van Wagenen, along with local councilor John Earl, had the initial plan to create a film festival in Salt Lake City, Utah. The plan was to attract more filmmakers to Utah to try and grow its film industry. Robert Redford, an actor, soon jumped in on the plan, taking charge as the board director for the festival, because he believed that
the mainstream was completely controlling exhibition. And I just felt there were a whole lot of other people out there who were talented, who had stories to be told, but they were undisciplined because they had not had a chance to develop themselves.
His mission was quickly expanded to include independent films and promote the independent industry as a whole. The festival struggled to make a profit initially, taking a loss after the first year, not managing to break even until the next. However, as the festival grew more attached to Redford's Sundance Institute, it began growing and becoming more popular. The independent films featured at the festival were starting to get quickly picked up by distributors, and became a yearly success. Now, there was a place where independent creators could pass through the barriers studios put up. The Sundance Film Festival has changed the game. At first, the Sundance Film Festival was not very successful. However, today, the Sundance Festival produces an average of around $182 million annually and generates around 12,000 jobs. The festival also helps break the barrier of accessibility by enabling films to reach a larger audience.
Without the film festivals, independent producers would have to spend countless millions of dollars to advertise and promote their films.
It had an enormous impact on my career. But when I was there, the reason it had such impact is because you were with the very top buyers, the top critics, the top people in film, who all were focused in on what you were doing. So we really got launched when we won special jury prize there. Sundance gave us the blast of publicity.
And provides a place where filmmakers could collaborate, view each other's work, and learn from each other.
But meeting the film community was super important. Making new friends, listening to people's stories, and making their films.
That's what Sundance was so innovative to create. There wasn't something like that before. To make something that was extremely nurturing and supportive of the creative filmmaker.
In addition, the Sundance Film Festival has also brought many independent creators who otherwise wouldn't have been recognized, such as Steven Soderbergh, Quentin Tarantino, Lee Daniels, and the Coen brothers. The independent creators were not as restricted as studios because they had greater creative freedoms and were not bound by the Hays Code. This led to many socio-political and cultural barriers being broken in cinema. Films featured at the festivals in recent years have had very diverse casts and producers, with films such as Smoke Signals and Blackfish being notable examples. Some argue that there is still work to be done. Many believe that despite the film festival's best efforts, there are still significant barriers to storytelling in the industry.
Writers writing with stereotypes and tropes, and that was really common. There just isn't a lot of diversity in Hollywood. I mean, right now there isn't a lot from the decision-making level, and there's a real market for it. Like we saw it with Crazy Rich Asians, we saw it with Black Panther, saw it with Black Klansman.
Despite this, the contribution Sundance has had on uplifting independent creators is undeniable. The Sundance Film Festival has had a tremendous impact in helping pass through the barrier of director and audience. The film festival has created a place where stories are born, allowing more never-before-seen films to reach greater audiences.
The tornado in The Wizard of Oz carried Dorothy to a land of dreams. In a similar way, the Sundance Film Festival has given more filmmakers the chance to share the projects that they dream of.
That you dare